Hello and welcome back to another episode on how to model a home in 3D. Today we will actually be talking about this very important thing called normals, and it's something you have to know before we start putting in stuff in the house. This is because it's a quirk of doing 3D work, and you kind of sort of have to understand what this is really about. So please watch this before you skip on to the next one. We're almost there. Okay, so let's begin. So here I have some basic cubes and planes, the standard stuff we always use. And as you can see over here, it looks pretty normal. Everything looks really normal, like nothing's different, right? But then over here, when I go into this option here, this drop down box, there's this thing called face orientation checkbox. So when I click on that, and then we realize that, oh wait, something is different. Like all these cubes look the same, but one of them is red, one of them is blue. Same thing for the plane. Of course, I set it up myself. So yeah, I'm trying to just show you an example of what this thing means. So what are normals? So let me bring your attention to this basic plane that I created. And as you can see, this is just a very simple plane that I created using Shift A, add a plane. And as you can see, there's no thickness as well. So I'm going to go to this viewport overlay button here, drop down box, and I'm going to click on face orientation. And suddenly you see that this side is blue and the underside is red, and you might be wondering like what's going on. So in 3D, every single face or every single polygon that you see has a front and a back. And the front is represented blue and the back is represented red in Blender. So in some softwares, the front is represented green and then the back is red. And it's very important to understand that because it tells you what is the front part of the mesh. So let me give you an example. I'm just going to go into this mesh and do an edit. And I'm just going to extrude this. So as you can see now, my card or plane has now some thickness to it as I extruded it out. And you can see that everything is blue, nothing is red, and that's because the front side of the surface is facing us right now. And if I zoom my camera all the way in through this box, you see that everything on the back side is facing inside. And basically you want everything in your scene to sort of look like that. So everything in your scene should look blue. It should never look red unless you really want it to. So with all that said, I have to put a disclaimer here that my explanation of normals that you just heard about the front and back side, that's basically just the tip of the iceberg of what normals actually are, because there's actually a much more in-depth explanation on that. But in our context of building the house, I think all you need to know for now is the blue and the red thing, because it's going to be quite important in a way to understand what the face orientations are. So now you might be asking like, okay, I have, turned on this checkbox and I see everything in my house and I noticed that one object is red. So how do I fix this? So what you want to do really quickly is to select the red object in your scene and then press tab to go into edit mode and press A to select everything, select all parts of the mesh and hit Shift N to recalculate the normals. And that is how basically you force every single face to face the front side. And that is exactly what you want. So right now, very quickly, I am just going to go back and open my Clementi Pix version 5. And we are going to check whether this model is correct. So we are going to this checkbox over here, which is the viewport overlay button. And we are going to click on face orientation. And if you have followed the entire tutorial with me, everything should look okay. Nothing should be red. If anything is red, you can always go and select the object, go into edit mode, select all, and Shift N to recalculate the surface normals. So right now at this point of time, you might be asking in your head, okay, I was going to explain to you why in certain cases you might want the surface normal, like the inside to face outside. And I'm going to show you really quickly right now. But before I do that, I will actually need to model in the ceiling of the house. And we are going to do that right now by starting by adding a mesh and plane. If you do not already know how to model that, I suggest you watch the modeling tutorial in the basics course, and that should get you up to speed about what are extrusions and all those stuff, how to manipulate points and vertices. But if you've been following so far, I think you should be able to do the modeling of this ceiling by yourself quite quickly. Shouldn't take too much time, so let's jump into this. So right now we have our ceiling modeled and everything looks blue, the entire mesh looks blue, facing the outside looks correct, right? But actually no, we don't want this to look blue. So for example, when we go into the house, because that's what we are going to actually do, we'll be taking screenshots inside the house, right? So everything in the house will be facing us. You want it to be blue and not red. So with your ceilings red, that's definitely not what we want. So we are going to go and flip this. But of course, if you press tab and press A and you do a shift N, nothing happens because it is recalculating to what's facing you. So that's correct. So instead, you want to go into Alt N, and this will bring out the normals menu, and you just want to press on flip, and everything like this will turn red, and this is the correct version of the ceiling that you want. So when we go inside the house, it's actually blue. And now you might be wondering, okay, this is awesome. I have this ceiling right here. It's red, everything's correct, but how am I going to start putting things in? Because it's going to be quite hard, right? Like for example, if I keep looking at this, sometimes I just want to have a top-down bird's eye view of my house, and this thing's gonna be there to block my view of everything inside the house, and then I have to keep going to the outliner here to turn it on and off the visibility. It's gonna take a long time to turn off one thing, put in your object, and then turn it on again. Oh my goodness, this is gonna go crazy, right? So how do I deal with this? And there is actually a very cheap and easy way. So previously I just explained that we want everything to face outside. The front side of the object is going to face the outside, which is blue, and then the inside stuff where we don't want to see is actually red. And there's actually a shortcut so that from the viewport itself, you can actually don't see anything that's red and see only what is blue. That's really cool, right? And I'm going to show you right now what is this. So over here, previously, there's this drop down tick box where we do this face orientation thing. We are going to turn that off right now. And we already know that this ceiling is red color facing us. So in the next one over here, this is the viewport shading drop down box. We want to select turn on the back face culling option, and suddenly your ceiling disappears. And this is because in this whole viewport right now, what's happening is that everything that is red will not be visible to you, and everything that's blue will be visible to you only. So the moment I bring my camera in, it's not really clear, but what's happening right now is that your ceiling is only displayed when your camera is inside the house, and it's not displayed when you're outside the house. So you can still have your top-down bird's eye view of the entire house with all the layout, and you can just simply drop your camera in and render, and you'll still see your ceiling inside. So this is a really cool function, which is in this viewport shading drop down button, and it's under the back face culling checkbox. So yeah, this is all I wanted to talk about for this video, which is about normals, a very tip of the iceberg type explanation of normals. So in the next episode, we will actually start to drop items in already, and this is going to be really cool. We're going to talk about how to change colors of your walls and all that. So do stay tuned for that. You finally got here, so thank you to everyone who has been watching and following this. Yeah, your determination top notch, because I bet lots of people just gave up after like the third video or something. So before I forget, I'm going to rename this plane as ceiling, and I'm just going to rename this entire collection as the base. And then I am going to save this as version 6 of the Clementi Pics file, so you can always refer to that. And thank you very much.